Hey, what's up you guys? It is me, Psychic Medium Natasha, and I'm back with another video for you guys. In today's video, I want to go over how can you guys protect your home from negative energy. I feel like this is a frequently asked question, and I really want to give you guys my tips that I personally use and also things that I recommend for my clients. So this is just in time for spooky season, and I also want to let y'all know that I have a new blog post in the description box about how to tell if your home is haunted. So if you guys are suspicious or have concern that you may be experiencing a haunting or some spirit activity in your home, feel free to read that new blog article so that you can have some clarity and know what to look out for. But in this video, we're going to go into depth about why it's important and what are the steps on how you can protect your home from negative energy. So let's get into it and dive right in. All right, so why is it so important that we are protecting our homes from negative energy anyway? Like, what's the big deal? Well, basically the simple answer is when we're out and about doing our errands, going to school, going to work, we are interacting with other people, other places, and other objects. And we tend to pick up and absorb the energy from these things, these people, these places. And then we come home and we're like, man, I can't wait to relax. I can't wait to sit on the couch, get on the bed, unwind. But we're carrying still that energy from all the things that we were interacting with throughout the day. And when we're not doing anything about it, that energy that we're carrying from throughout the day is going to seep into the mattress. It's going to seep into the couch. It's going to be absorbed in the walls. And if we're not doing anything about it, over time, this energy tends to get heavier, dense, stagnant, and it just starts to build more and more where eventually the room you're in can feel suffocating. You can feel, basically it just, over time, this energy starts to influence you and drain you, basically. So a lot of people tend to feel, brain fog. They tend to, have a hard time remembering their dreams, focusing. A lot of times people report feeling fatigued and feeling achy. A lot of times feeling restless, anxiety, because you're feeling all of these collective residual energies kind of clashing each other, and then you're not doing anything about it, so you're picking up on it, you're feeling it, and then you're like, man, I just feel so tense. I just want to be able to relax and I don't feel like I'm able to. Well, maybe it's time to start to set your sacred space, do your spiritual protection, protect your home. And I'm about to go into depth about what are the ways, the steps, the sequence that y'all can use to be able to do this for yourselves, because we do not want to just be on autopilot. We don't want to be living in our heads on autopilot, running through the motions and routines throughout the day. We want to absolutely be intentional with what we're open to and what we're not. So basically our spiritual hygiene. And part of that is protecting your home from negative energy. So let's break down the steps on how y'all can do this so that your homes feel safe. Okay, so the first step to actually protecting your home from negative energy is actually to cleanse your space, because we want to clear and purify the space so that we have a good foundation to set our protection work. When you're setting protection, you're trying to keep specific things in and specific things out. You're basically establishing boundaries, trying to seal what you do want and keeping other things out. So you don't want to seal anything that you didn't want in that space anyway. So the first step is we have to cleanse and purify. So you can make this as simple or as elaborate as you want it. But as for some examples that y'all could add or incorporate is for the floors, first of all, you could take some Celtic salt, some sea salt, some peak Himalayan salt, and that salt is going to neutralize and absorb the energies of the floor and then sweep it away to banish it out of the space. For the rooms that you have rugs or carpets, I always recommend using baking soda, because with baking soda you can just simply sprinkle it all over, let it sit there and absorb that energy for like an hour or two, and then just simply vacuum it up. Or for the rugs, you could shake it outside, Another way you can cleanse your space is using essential oil diffusers. You know, you add your water, which is great for purification anyway, and then you add your essential oils. And that could be something like pine, rosemary, eucalyptus, for example. Another way you can cleanse your space is using sound, you know. So if you have a drum, a singing bowl, tuning forks, bells, those are great ways to use those sound frequencies to shake up and stir up all that negative, heavy energy and pushing them out of your space, you know. Another way of cleansing your space is you absolutely want to wipe down the threshold. So like your windowsills, your doorways. You could simply take some water and some lemon juice with some salt. It doesn't have to be like, you know, really concentrated. Just you want to have the intention and then just wipe it. So that way you're clearing those liminal spaces. Okay, so there's more ways to cleanse your space, but that's like something good to start off with. And of course, you can also burn incense. You know, incense is very versatile. But when it comes to incense for cleansing your space, I recommend rosemary, pine, eucalyptus, bay leaves, even burning rose. There are so many herbs that are really good for cleansing and protection. Just make sure that whatever you're using, whether that's a herb, a resin, an incense, that you're telling it what you want it to do. Because 9 times out of 10, you know, herbs, they're able to do more than one thing. They have multiple properties. So if you have, you know, a juniper or a rosemary bundle, you want to say, hey, rosemary, cleanse and purify my space of all negative, heavy, stagnant energies. Make this space purified and clear. Thank you. And then burn it. You know, you have to tell your incense, herbs, resins what you want it to do, or else you're just burning it and letting the smell get in it. Like it's not actually doing anything. So make sure that you're telling it what to do. Okay? Now, after you cleanse, then you want to set protection. And there's different ways to do this, and we're about to break it down for you. All right, now we're getting into the good stuff, actually protecting your space, setting protection. So there's more than one way to go about this. I'm just going to give you some tips on what I do and what I also recommend. But like I said, you can always add to this. You can make it more simple. You can elaborate. It's really up to you what you want to do. I'm just really trying to give you some ideas so that way you guys can just really pick and choose for yourself. Okay? Now, when it comes to setting protection, think about it like you are setting a perimeter, a fence around your home, and also enforcing the 4 corners of the rooms of your home. So you're doing the outside of the home, okay, for the property. You're doing the inside, like all the rooms, okay? So you want to be thorough, okay? So when you're setting protection outside your home, you can add wind chimes and bells, so that way when the wind blows through, it's ringing those bells and it's cleansing and setting protection for your space as well, especially if you're praying over those objects or enchanting them if you are a witch. But that's an old folk magic southern thing in the United States where you add wind chimes and it's like a form of protection. You can also hang symbols or certain talismans outside your home if you feel comfortable with that. Some people like to, you know, hang like a cross. Some people like the pentacle. It needs to be a symbol that resonates with you. So for example, if you're an atheist, you're not really spiritual or religious, but you're using a cross, it may not be the best fit for you. You know what I mean? Maybe you want a shield, you know, something that really makes you think and connect with protection, associate with protection. Another thing you could do for the outside is you can plant certain herbs or trees or plants that have the protection properties, like rosemary outside your front door and rose bushes. Those are very protective, and they also both smell great and look amazing. You can also you can also work with a tree in one of either your front yard or your backyard and create it as a guardian. So when you're making a tree a guardian to protect your space from the outside, you're basically building a relationship with that tree and using it for the intention to protect your space. So it's watching over your space, it's protecting the energy of your space, and it's also taking the hits of anything trying to come into your home or disturb the home or disturb you all, and the tree's absorbing and transmuting that energy. So that could be something as simple as, okay, you go outside, you walk around the property, you're asking the trees outside, okay, which one of you would be open to working with me to protecting my home? And see which tree feels like it's screaming at you, feels more open, feel drawn to. And then start to spend time every day with that tree to build that connection. And then, for example, I like to give little offerings. So that way, that tree has the sustainable energy to do the protection work. Like for me, whenever I'm boiling or steaming vegetables over the stove, instead of tossing out that water from the vegetables and stuff, I will let it cool down in the pot. And then I will pour it over the roots of the tree so it can absorb the nutrients that it pulled from the steam or boiling those vegetables, and it can take it as food. And I'm like, here you go, thank you. I hope you enjoy this. Okay. Another way to protect your home is locking your mirrors. Okay. Locking your mirrors. So I do have a video going into depth about this, but just to explain it briefly, your TVs, the actual mirrors in your home, they can act as potential portals to let other energies and spirits into your home. So you want to lock them so that way any monitoring spirits, any negative energies, anything malicious, they can't get in through that portal, basically. So yeah, like I said, I have a video on my YouTube channel that goes in depth on how to do that, but that's something that I do recommend when you are setting set protection. You want to lock the mirrors. Another thing you want to do is you just want to infuse the space with as much protection as possible. So if you have a bedroom, maybe you could put something hanging in the four corners of the room, like little charms or little drawstring baggies. You can add herbs, petitions, whatever. Some people for the main hallway or when you first walk in, some people like to have a specific candle that is set for protection. Like they just burn it every single time a guest comes in, and then once they leave, they snuff it out and they just keep it going. But for the bedrooms, you can also set selenite or black tourmaline in the windowsills or under the bed. But you basically just want to set protection or create wards for your space. Wards are basically protective items that will absorb the hits that are being aimed at you in your home, so that way it's not building up and all that stuff. So one of my favorite wards for the home, and there's so many, but this is one of my favorites. You take a glass jar, you fill it with water, and you basically want to add 3 fresh limes. And these limes will float at the very top of the jar once you close the lid on it. And basically, the reason why I like this is that you can pray your intention into the water of that jar and state it. And basically the idea of this is that jar of water and limes, it's going to absorb the negative energies being aimed at your home or even at you, if that's your intention. And when it gets hit, meaning something hits it, it picks up on it, one of the limes will sink. Okay, that will let you know, okay, it got hit. But because the other 2 limes of the 3 are still floating, okay, it's still working, but it was hit by something. So I'm going to keep an eye on this, So once all 3 limes are at the bottom, then it's like, okay, this has done its job. It absorbed all of it. I need to pour and dispose of all this stuff, and then I need to make a new one, make it fresh. And that's why I like it so much, because it's something you can visually see when it's time to refresh or redo. And then I think limes are very really great, and then water, of course, like it can absorb memory and your intention and stuff. So yeah, those are just some simple ways you can set protection for your home. There's other ways you can. You don't have to just stick to these tips I said, but it's just giving you an idea of where to start. Okay, so after you actually cleanse and set protection for your home, you're actually not done. After you cleanse and set wards and barriers in your home, the next thing is actually to raise the vibration of your home. And this is what I mean by that. Okay, so what I mean by raising the vibration of your space is that you want to infuse your space with happiness, with joy, with prosperity, abundance, so that way we can invite those good things in. And also, when we vibrate high, we're not a vibrational match for lower vibrational experiences, whether that's, evil spirits, negative energy, because they're not on the same wavelength with you. So that could be something as simple as, maybe I'm gonna, maybe this dark room that's painted black, I'm gonna paint it white or yellow or green, to raise the vibration from the heaviness and the darkness. Maybe I'm gonna open the windows, and I'm going to infuse that natural light to get in and let that air circulate so it's not stagnant in the space. Maybe I'm gonna add some happy images on the walls, or add some figurines, so that way I can invoke happiness and joy, peace, playing music that allows us to also feel these things. So just raising the vibration of your space is just adding things to make the space feel warm, feel light, and to add, positivity, you know what I mean? So whether you believe in feng shui or spiritual hygiene, energy is real, and you want to do this after cleansing and protection. So yeah, so it's up to you how you want to make it feel like that for you, because everyone has their own associations and ideas about that. But the simple idea is, I just want to make the space feel warm and cozy, and I want us to be focusing on joy, creativity, passion, empowerment. Like, you want to be focusing on those type of emotions, invoking that into your space. So because when you are putting that into your space and you're focusing on that and tuning into that every day, you're making this space be radiating with that energy. Okay, so after you cleanse, you set your protection and raise the vibration of your space, the last thing is maintenance. Maintenance is going to be different for everyone depending on how big your property is, your home, and also based on what your unique needs are, the traffic coming in and out, and how much you're interacting with the world. So that will depend on many factors. But your maintenance is basically going to be on a daily basis, a weekly basis, and a monthly basis. So for every day, that could be something as simple as, I'm going to make sure that I'm keeping this space, physically clean and tidy. I'm going to organize, I'm going to declutter to make sure that things are not just building up, And then for a weekly occurrence, you could be resetting your cleansing. So maybe I'll burn my incense, I'll sweep with the salt, I'll add my essential oil diffuser, and things like that. Now, when it comes to the monthly, the weekly thing could also be adding fresh flowers to your space and stuff like that. Every month maintenance would be something like, I need to redo my protection wards. I need to redo my protection to make sure that it's still going strong, or do I need to reset this so it can be the strongest it can be? So that could be so for me, I like to lock my mirrors every month. I like to reset my protection stuff every month, because for me that works. Now, if you find that you need to do it sooner than that, then do that. But this is just a general idea, because you can make this, again, as simple or as elaborate as you want it to be, and you can switch this up for however it works best for you, okay? But if you need to cleanse your home every day, do that. If you especially if you work in healthcare or something like that, yeah, I can understand that. Maybe you need to reset your protections every week or every 2 weeks instead of every month. It just depends on what your needs are. But But that's what it is. You want to cleanse, protect, raise the vibration, and do your maintenance as needed. So that's all I have for you today. Don't forget to tell me down in the comments your favorite ways to protect your home's energy, because I didn't list everything. I just wanted to list my 2 cents, my tips, some recommendations, but this is not the one only way. There's other multiple ways depending on your spirituality, your religion, your culture. So don't be afraid to experiment and add and what feels best and resonates for you.